Welcome to part 1 of this 5-part wood-fired oven masterclass series, where I sit down in the United Kingdom and talk to David Jones from the Manna from Devon Cooking School. They specialise in teaching wood-fired oven cooking techniques to folks from all around the world. In part 1 of this masterclass series, I talked to David about his intriguing background and what drove him to start the Manna from Devon Cooking School with Holly in Devon in the UK. We chat about his wood-fired ovens and types of wood he uses in these ancient types of ovens. This episode sets the scene for the rest of the series, where we discuss over 20 different types of foods that you can try in your wood-fired oven. That's a big list of gloriously delicious food and cooking techniques that are coming during the series. You can find out more about this wonderful wood-fired oven cooking school by checking out their website, mannafromdevon.com. I'll leave a bunch of links to their website, books, and online courses in the show notes. If you'd like to become a supporter of the Wood-Fired Oven podcast, please consider it. Head over to woodfiredoven.cooking/support, where I have left a few options for you to consider. Okay, sit back, relax, and join me as we start this incredible 5-part Wood-Fired Oven masterclass series with David Jones.
Hi, this is Ben.
This is Adrian.
This is Clive.
This is David Jones from the Manna from Devon Cooking School, and you are listening to the Wood-Fired Oven podcast with Mark Goston.
The United Kingdom is a gorgeous place. Lush green rolling hills, gorgeous meandering rivers, and stunning wild coastlines. About 4.5 hours southwest of London lies Kingswear in South Devon, a particularly stunning area, so much so in fact that it holds national status in the UK as a designated area of outstanding natural beauty, and I can see why. I've travelled here from Brisbane, Australia to visit today's very special guests. David and Holly Jones own and operate the well-known Manna from Devon Cooking School, located near the beautiful River Dart. They have been teaching folks from all around the world wood-fired oven cooking techniques for over 15 years in this amazing place. So I am very excited to chat with David today. They are also authors of 3 gorgeous wood-fired oven cookbooks, which I discussed back in Season 2, Episode 3 of the show. David Jones, welcome to the Wood-Fired Oven podcast.
Thank you, Mark. Great to be here.
It's fantastic to be here. If you had to set up a cooking school in any part of the UK, this would have to be it. It is a beautiful part of the world, isn't it?
It is a stunning part of the world. We've got fantastic food produce around us. We're right here on the coast. We've got Brixton Fish Market nearby, the biggest fish market in the UK these days.
Really?
Yeah. We've got rolling hills behind us inland producing beef and pork and fantastic meat and other things. Devon is a great place for all sorts of foodie inspiration. There's such a lot going on here, and it is fantastic. It just happens to be stuck down the end of a peninsula, rather, or 2/3 of the way down a peninsula.
And does it rain here? I'm looking out the window here, and it's it's a drizzly old day, David.
It's a drizzly old day, but we're at the end of a very dry summer, so we're pretty happy to see the drizzle. And we are on this peninsula, as I mentioned, stuck out into the Atlantic. So the weather does roll in off the Atlantic. It gives us lots of lush green grass and verdant pastures, which is fantastic for all the lamb and beef that we are surrounded by. So, there's pros and cons to all of that. But it's also one of the highest places for sunshine, the number of hours of sunshine in the UK. So it's a glorious place.
Just not today.
Not today.
No. I was just my wife and I. We've just driven down from Torquay. That's a lovely part of the world. It's
the English Riviera.
I was about to say we saw signs saying the English Riviera. In Torquay. It's amazing. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you get up there very often?
Well, it's only just up and over the hill from us, really. And Tor Bay is a fantastic natural feature. There's this huge easterly facing bay surrounded on 3 sides by the whole of what's now known as the bay. Right. So very protected from wind. So this very, very sheltered harbour. Right. And it gets all this sunshine. Hence, it got the sort of name back in the 1920s, I think, of the English Riviera.
It's a beautiful spot. So a lot of Brits go there for their holidays?
Oh, yeah. Very popular.
Yeah. It's a lovely, lovely part of the world. Let's set the scene for the listeners. David, as I mentioned, I'm from Brisbane. For those who are new to the podcast, I live in Australia. I'm a Kiwi, live in Australia, and I've travelled to the UK with my wife, and we've driven down to see you here in this beautiful part of the world. We're sitting inside your cooking school. Can you describe for the listeners what's surrounding us here?
So here we've got a big space about 7 meters by 4 meters, completely enclosed by a wooden structure which we built ourselves. We added this on to the house.
How long ago was that?
And about 7 years, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right.
Although a little bit before that, we had a smaller structure with a couple of ovens sat on it and a little roof. And then we had a bigger structure. And then we had a bigger structure with a marquee over it.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
And then eventually we built it all in, all the while trying to sort of extend our season and what we could offer. So now now that it is fully enclosed, we can cook with our outdoor ovens, but we can cook 12 months of the year and teach 12 months of the year.
Yeah, that must have made a big difference for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Completely putting it inside, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's become a really fantastic space on what was a very little used part of the garden. Is now our most used space. We run pretty much all of our classes in here. And in here we've got two classic wood-fired ovens installed, fully flued through the roof, and always in tip-top condition rather than sat out in the Devon rain that you mentioned.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Getting a little bit damp.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've done well. It has a nice rustic feel to it too. How many folks can you get in here for a class? And we'll talk about your classes a little bit later. But broad strokes, how many folks would you typically have in here?
So a comfortable number for a class with a little bit of hands-on stuff going on is 10 to 12.
Oh, that's a good size class.
I'd really like to have a class of 10. More than that, it gets a little bit unwieldy.
Yeah, right.
We can do a sort of demonstration for 24, 25. We have had sort of pizza parties for 30 people, that kind of...
Crikey, have you?
That kind of number.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you mentioned the rustic feel. We gave the builder the brief that we wanted it to look like a tree house.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because we're surrounded by these lovely old trees.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of bird life.
And it's almost like you're sitting up in the canopy here too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that was the feel we really wanted for it.
But you don't just do your cooking in this place. You do a bit of travelling around. And I think just before we came on air, you were actually Holly was mentioning that you do some cooking around the place. You've recently been to Boston. I think you're a busy guy because I think tomorrow you're going to Wales?
Wales tomorrow.
Whereabouts in Wales
are
you getting?
Well, actually, only just over the border, just over the other side of the bridges, which people in the UK will understand what that means.
Okay.
So into the south of Wales near Monmouth.
Okay.
And I teach a class there about 3 or 4 times a year at another cooking school, the Humble by Nature cooking school, where they have they do have a wood-fired oven, different to mine a little bit.
Okay.
But a nice setup there. We also run a class in Suffolk, and Suffolk is right at the other end of the country over in the east.
Yep.
And having mentioned that we live down this peninsula, I have to take the mountain to Mohammed. We have a fantastic facility that we use over there, and lovely farmer and his wife, Andrew and Sarah, lend us their outdoor kitchen, which has a lovely refractory wood-fired oven, and we have another wood-fired oven there as well. And we can run classes over there, and we run a class up in Scotland.
Yes, and that's in Edinburgh. I think I saw some pickies on Instagram. Whereabouts in Edinburgh do you do it? We've been there a couple of times.
That's just out to the west of Edinburgh in a village called Balerno, near to the airport.
Okay.
Handy for people coming in.
Yeah, right.
In there.
And so how often do you go up there and cook?
Well, we've only recently started doing that once a year, so we're going to see how that goes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get around a bit.
Yeah. And we run classes which are very much in a niche. So, any cooking school in the country you can go to, you can do a bread class, you can do a fish class, but there are not many places in the country doing wood-fired oven cooking classes.
No, I bet there aren't.
Very few. Perhaps a little bit more coming on stream, I think.
Okay. Bit of competition for you?
Bit of competition, but thus far, we've pretty much been it.
Okay.
And people do travel a long way to come and see us, but we're asking an awful lot of people to come from Scotland down to do a class with us. All,
I don't know, it's not that far. You can catch a train down to London. Can you take the train all the way down here?
I think you can take a train. Maybe you'd have to change at Birmingham or something, but you'd certainly be able to get from Edinburgh or Glasgow down to us. Right. Yes,
the rail network in the UK is amazing.
Oh yeah.
The trains everywhere.
Yeah,
it's great. Let's take a little chat now about your background. Did you grow up in this part of the world?
No. I grew up in a little bit further north from here in the Forest of Dean, which is a little area of Gloucestershire, slightly cut off from the rest of Gloucestershire by the River Severn, and it's a little sort of forested enclave, very old hunting forest, ex-mining region.
Goodness.
And but a beautiful part of the world.
So you were born in that part of the world there?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long did you live there?
Oh, till I went to university, really, so first 18 years.
Was cooking a big part of your life growing up?
Definitely. Yeah, lots of home cooking with my parents. Both my parents cooked.
Yep. Good cooks.
So yeah.
Yeah.
My father in particular was a very careful cook. Took over most of the cooking from my mother when he retired.
Right.
And she was still working. He had a fantastic garden. Lots and lots of wonderful vegetables and fruit coming out of the garden.
Right.
Very frugal from his background, and so tried to grow as much as possible and all of that. And then it had to be cooked. It had to be preserved. Yeah. If it couldn't be cooked or preserved, it was turned into wine, parsnip wine, and all that stuff going on.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Parsnip wine?
Yeah, some of it.
That sounds really good.
Not all of it. Some of it.
Oh, geez. That sounds great. Yeah.
And then putting all of that on the table was, right. But nothing too exploratory in his cooking, should we say.
It was very, very British, was it?
Very, very British, and didn't like the smell of garlic in the house.
Really?
Wouldn't have mushrooms.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah. So, nothing too, none of that.
Okay.
Funny stuff.
Right.
But still some fantastic,
right.
fantastic food. Yeah.
What about cooking with fire, though? I mean, as a youngster, do you have memories cooking with fire? Because we're looking at two very large vessels here that have fire in them.
Yeah.
So you see, your dad did a lot of the cooking. I'm presuming that's in the electric oven, was it?
So, no.
No?
The main cooking in our house was done on a coal-fired Rayburn. So a range, kind of, like an Aga, similar to an Aga, but coal-fired.
Right.
And two ovens, and to cook with that, and a hot plate on top, but fired by coal. So you had to manage that fire very carefully to get the temperature that you wanted.
Okay.
And if you wanted to bake a cake, 45 minutes before you wanted to bake that cake, you had to be thinking about, what do I need to do with the fire now to prep for that? And I did a lot of baking, a lot of cake making as a teenager, and used that oven and became really comfortable using that oven. And I think that was a big part of understanding heat and fire management. And also, I was Boy Scouts, I was Outdoor Pursuits Group, I was
lighting bonfires on the beach, and you're doing all that good stuff.
Campfire. I had my campfire cooking badge. I won a camp cooking competition one time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, cooked duck à l'orange at a scout camp.
Are you joking?
No.
That's impressive, David.
Yeah.
And do you do that here? Duck à l'orange?
I don't think I've cooked a duck à l'orange. Maybe since the 1970s.
Is that
Yeah. Maybe it's time for a revisit.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a long history with cooking with fire then.
Yeah.
Coal. I remember my grandmother, I was born in Christchurch in New Zealand, and my grandmother, they had a burning stove, I think, in their kitchen, and I remember the smell of coal burning. They don't let it happen in Christchurch now, but the smell is gorgeous, though.
Yeah, fantastic.
It sets vivid memories of my younger days.
And that range was the sort of heart of the house, really. The clothes were dried on it. Everybody who came into the house out of the cold would stand and park their bum on the rail in front of it.
Isn't that great?
And warm up.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. So, okay, very interesting. Where did you first meet Holly?
Holly and I met at university.
Okay.
So
What did?
40 years ago.
Okay.
Should we say?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you study there?
Holly was studying modern languages, so she was studying French and German.
Oh, wow.
And I was studying philosophy,
Philosophy.
which is rather different to what I'm doing now.
But it is.
Rather more academic and cerebral.
So when you left, so what uni was this?
Yeah, this was in London.
In London, okay.
Yeah.
And then, so you did your philosophy, and then at the end of university, what was your first job?
Well, my first job actually was as a bicycle courier around London.
Was it?
Yeah, and the very thought of
That'd be scary, wouldn't it?
Well, the
Oh, my
very
goodness.
thought of it now terrifies me.
Yeah.
At the time, at 22 or 3 or whatever I was, it didn't scare me at all. I hurtled around there,
Yeah.
carrying packages of this, that, and the other, skipping in and out of traffic lanes, and all of that without a second thought.
Yeah, goodness me.
I think about it now, and it just fills me with horror, really. But
Because
there
London,
we
for
are.
those who, everyone must surely know, London's a crazy busy place, and it would have been back then too.
Yeah.
Gee.
And then, that was sort of whilst I was trying to get into the Navy and taking various tests and.
Okay. So why the Navy? What drew you into the services?
Well, my father had been in the Navy during the war.
Really?
And so I'd been brought up with stories of
Oh, I bet. The excitement of travelling the world on the ocean or under the ocean.
the excitement of being sunk in the Mediterranean twice.
Was he?
And he was.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What ships did he serve on?
I'm not sure I can remember the name. I'm sure one of them was called the Janus.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And so he got sunk twice in the Med. That's
Sunk twice. Yeah.
oh my god.
Spent hours and hours in the water. Had that been in the North Atlantic, had he been North Atlantic convoys, not Mediterranean convoys, that would have been that.
Yeah, right.
But the Mediterranean, you just floated around for several hours until
and be picked up.
someone came and picked you up.
So that
Yeah.
the stories of being sunk in the Med were enough to inspire you to join the Navy.
Strangely.
How did that work?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, that intrigues me, joining up the services. Tell me about those early experiences for you. So you travelled the world. What was it like?
Yeah, well, I guess the sort of attraction for me was, the kind of travel and adventure idea, but also doing something very practical after a philosophy degree.
Yeah.
Thought I needed to really kind of
do something hands-on.
bit more hands-on.
Okay.
Yeah. I was, navigator, officer of the watch, diving officer, lots of good fun doing that.
Okay.
But I did manage to try. I was only in the Navy for a short period, so I only did 5 years.
Is that short, is it?
Yeah.
5 years. It's a long time? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was never going to be a career naval officer.
Okay.
But during that short period of time, I managed to get out to the West Indies a couple of times. I travelled down the coast of West Africa. I did a tour around the Mediterranean. I went into the Baltic, circumnavigated the UK with the Fishery Protection Squadron.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
So I did a lot of miles.
Yeah, you did.
Which was great. Now, not everybody did that. Some people were bimbling around doing rather pedestrian things, and I managed to pack in a lot of travel.
So quite an exciting time.
Yeah.
Did the influences of food and all of these different places have an impact on you? Do you remember the foods that you ate at these different countries?
I do actually. Yeah. And funnily enough, I talk to my friends about their time in the Navy, and the things they remember are nothing like mine. Because I say, do you remember that jerk chicken we had in that bar in such and such? And they're like, no.
There was a bar?
Oh, they remember the bars?
Of course
Yeah. Yeah. But they're like, no, I don't remember the jerk chicken. I'm like, do you remember those frog's legs we had in that little cafe in Ghana?
Really?
No.
No?
Yeah,
No.
we did. Yeah, definitely. So traveling around all of those places and going out to see Holly. She was in the army. She was out in Germany. I went out there, and I just remember this fantastic bar across from the barracks where they had these wonderful Wiener Schnitzel.
Oh,
was
yes.
the thing.
Was it?
Yeah, stuffed full of all sorts of different.
Hallelujah! Sounds
Different
great.
things.
Yeah,
Right. So pretty much anywhere I went. I
Okay.
can go, oh yeah, we ate such and such.
Yeah, they're
there.
right.
I'm not sure that I was even sort of consciously logging that, but now that I think back, I can always remember some outstanding foods that we ate.
So You've been cooking with fire, coal for a long time. You've had all of these wonderful experiences. You joined up in the Navy. You're a philosopher. How did you transition from being on ships, on the ocean, cooking full time? And we're talking before you've set up this school.
Yeah.
So how did that process come about?
Yeah. So, well, we've got a bit of time.
Mate, I got all day. Take your time.
So I'd always had this interest in cooking. I cooked as a teenager. I did a O-level in cookery when that was not the done thing at all.
Really?
For a boy to do an O-level in cookery.
Okay, so explain for those folks on the other side of the planet what an O-level is.
So that's 16-year-old exams, now called GCSEs in the UK. I don't know what they're called elsewhere.
Yeah, all right.
But at kind of 14, 15, you have a choice about what subjects you study. And mostly the boys would be doing woodwork, metalwork, technical drawing, and the girls would be doing needlework and cooking. And I opted for cookery.
Yeah. Very smart decision.
Yeah. So I have a cookery O-level. I was baking at home. I was trying to be a bit more experimental than my father had been. And, we're talking in the 70s now. So, spaghetti bolognese and...
Oh, I love that. That's great. I love it.
That kind of stuff was coming in.
Yeah, right.
Some of these more non-British
avant-garde
ingredients were becoming available.
Sure.
So I was getting into all that, but also, just earning pocket money, filling my auntie's freezer with cakes and quiches and various things.
Yeah, fair. Right.
To earn some money.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at 16, I wanted to go to. My plan was to go to catering college. Get my HND, I think it was called, Higher National Diploma.
Okay.
But my next level of education would have been in hotel and catering. And as part of that would be cooking, learning to cook. My plan being to become a chef. And my father, God bless him, talked me out of that.
Did he?
He did.
Okay.
He said, there's no money in catering. In the food industry.
Right.
You should really be doing something sensible like engineering, and going into manufacturing.
Yes.
That sort of thing,
Right.
of which there was lots at the time. Now there isn't any. But
No, sure. Sure.
So
did you pay attention to your old man back then?
I did.
Yeah.
I did park that idea.
Yeah.
And I went back to school, and then I did my sixth form A-levels, advanced exams. Then I went to university. Then I went on to do into the Navy and some management consultancy and all sorts of exciting things.
Yeah.
So no regrets about any of that. But
Great life experience.
I came back round full circle.
Yeah.
And in 2002, we got offered this fantastic opportunity to come down here and run the catering at a yacht club. Holly, after she'd left the Navy, Holly, after she'd left the Army, had gone to Leith School of Food and Wine in London and studied for a year with a view to going into catering, cooking of some sort. And she had then been cooking private catering, private cooking jobs, a little bit of restaurant supply work, doing some talking, doing some writing, doing some teaching, all sorts of things.
I think I was talking to Holly a few weeks back. I think she's done some work on TV as well, has she?
Yeah, a little bit of TV work. Yeah, a little bit of work for the BBC.
Fantastic.
As their online chef in the very early days of BBC Food.
Fantastic.
Ask the Chef. Yeah.
Ask, that was the show, was it? Ask.
No. That was just you'd write in and Holly would respond online. Or
really?
There were a team of them, but of which Holly was one of those.
Neat.
Yeah.
That would have been a great experience.
Yeah.
Oh, gee. Okay.
And so we were then at a wedding in Dublin.
That's a nice part of the world.
As
Dublin.
you are. Yeah.
Oh, that's a gorgeous place.
Yeah. Met someone who was looking for someone to do the catering at a yacht club in Devon. And we said, yeah, all right then.
We'll give it a whirl. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
so this is the yacht club just down the road here, is it?
Just down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd been to Dartmouth, to this part of the world before, because I've been at the Naval College, which is just over the river in Dartmouth.
Right.
So I knew where it was.
Yeah, okay.
The consultancy of which I was a partner, we weren't doing a lot of work. Post 9/11,
yeah, right.
everyone stopped flying around the world to have meetings. We stopped flying around the world to facilitate those meetings. So there wasn't a lot going on. So I took a sabbatical 20 years ago. I'm still on it.
You're still going?
Yeah.
You're still going. But you're not going to go back to that,
Yeah.
are you?
No.
No way, not now.
Not now.
Okay.
No. So that brought us down here to do the catering at the yacht club.
And that's the Royal Dart Yacht Club.
The Royal Dart Yacht Club.
Ah, fancy.
Yeah. Beautiful kitchen overlooking the river, fantastic setting. They've got an amazing terrace on the river. And we did the catering there for 2 years. Exciting, busy restaurant during the summer. Lots of sailors coming and going, hungry sailors wanting lots and lots of steak and seafood.
Oh, sounds fabulous.
That was great.
Yep.
Rather dull during the winter when there wasn't a lot of sailing going on.
Right.
And there were a few local members and committees and all of that. So, as anyone who's ever worked in a club will know, there's only so long you can work in a club.
Is that right?
That's
right. Then it's time to move on, which ultimately you did do. And tell us about the transition from coming from the yacht club into this place that we're sitting in now. Tell us about why you decided to start your own cooking school. So that happened straight after the yacht club?
Not quite. We were doing a variety of things. So we were doing some food production.
Right.
We were doing some outside catering. Some of that food production we were selling on. Some we were selling at markets and food festivals, and really kind of casting around, looking for, either we were going to become millionaires by inventing the next big food product. Or we don't know. But then Holly sent me on a class to learn even more food production. So it's called I was already baking some bread and selling that at market, which was going well. She sent me on a class.
Were you doing that in the kitchen from the yacht club, baking bread?
That started there, but then afterwards, here where we are now, we converted our downstairs to a little production kitchen.
Right.
But then Holly sent me on a class. It was called the 3-day Going Professional Baking class.
Right.
At a school called The Pannery with a fantastic guy called Paul Merry.
Right.
Not too far away in Shaftesbury, near here. And I spent 3 days learning lots from Paul Merry, who's a fantastically experienced guy. I think he might be a Kiwi, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness me. Okay.
And but I also spent 3 days thinking, my kitchen is bigger than this. And it's got a better view than this. And Holly and I's background in the military, in management consultancy, in presenting and talking, and a little bit of TV work and all of that gave us all the right skills to be running a cooking school.
Yeah.
And I thought, I shouldn't be spending all night baking bread and then loading a van and taking it off to markets. We should be doing some cooking classes at our fantastic house in Kingswear.
Yeah, right.
So I came back and I said to Holly, this is what we're doing next.
And did she sign up straight away? Because running your own business doesn't come without a fair amount of risk. So, so how did you feel? How did Holly feel about that when you came back and said, this is what we're doing? It's a risky endeavour, though, to run a...
Yeah. Well, we were already running our own business. It just was not really kind of firing us up and making us think this is what we want to do. So she was very happy to explore that. And we started doing some classes fairly soon after that.
And was that wood-fired oven cooking classes from the beginning?
No, definitely not. So we started a cooking school. I think we ran our first classes in probably May 2006. And we tried lots of things. So, seasonal cooking using local food, with all this fantastic food we have around us, bread classes, fish classes, Italian cooking, Spanish cooking, Indian cooking, you name it, every kind of cooking.
Yeah, right.
To see what stuck and what didn't. Yeah. And we still run bread classes. We still run fish classes. We stopped doing some of the others because the wood-fired stuff got too busy, but some things kind of came and went. And it wasn't until 2008 or 9 that we started doing some wood-fired oven classes.
Okay, so it was a few years into it.
Yeah. And that came about because someone said, do you want a wood-fired oven for your cooking school?
Really?
And we said yes. There's a pattern here.
Yeah, it is, isn't
Someone says, how about this? And we say yes.
Yes.
And I think that's generally a pretty good philosophy.
It is a good policy, isn't it?
Say yes and see what happens. Yeah.
So is it one of these that we're seeing here that was the original?
Same manufacturer, but a different oven.
Okay.
We started with it on the other side of the house, but there wasn't really enough room over there as the classes got more popular. So we moved it over here and things got bigger and bigger. But same manufacturer.
Right.
Yeah. But when we started those first classes, our first 2 years, we probably taught as many people as we now teach in a weekend, in a good weekend.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because in 2008, most people would look at you, if you said, if you've got a wood-fired oven in your garden, they'd look at you and be like, why would I have a wood-fired oven in my garden?
Right. Just want to take a quick moment during this episode and express my gratitude to all those wonderful folks who have reached out and financially supported the show. It only takes a few small coins, the equivalent of shouting me a coffee or lunch, to make a big difference to the future viability of the show. If you would like to become a supporter of the Wood Fired Oven podcast, please head over to woodfiredoven.cooking/support, where there are a few options you can choose from. I've left links in the show notes. Special shout out this week to Anne and Vanessa for supporting the show recently. I'm very grateful to you for your generous support. Thanks to all my supporters. You are all legends to me. Okay, let's get back to the show. So you've seen, over the period of time that you've been doing this, you've seen a shift, an increase in popularity of wood-fired ovens in the UK, obviously.
Hugely. Yeah,
What's driven that, do you think?
Well, I think, we've seen quite a lot on TV. Oh. And as soon as you see Jamie Oliver or the Hairy Bikers or James Martin.
The Hairy Bikers are great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or any of those folks on TV with a wood-fired oven in their garden, you go, I didn't even know that was possible. Yeah. But if they're doing it, so can I. So that was great. But at the same time, there's been a general growing interest in lots of things where you're kind of doing things yourself, and it's kind of getting back to some sort of basics.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
So people are making bread and making cheese and making kimchi and making beer and gardening and
sourdough, having starters.
You can't get an allotment anywhere in the UK. There's a waiting list for allotments because people are growing their own vegetables and that sort of stuff, which had sort of been set aside. All of that has made a comeback in the last 15 years. And I don't know what's really firing that reattachment with all of that. Maybe it's just, the more our lives get taken over by technology, the more we feel a need for, I need to do something with my hands.
Yeah.
I need to
getting back to those basics.
Yeah.
And nothing is more basic than playing with fire.
No,
and cooking
exactly.
with fire.
Yeah, so every kind of cooking with fire has seen this rekindling. Good pun. Rekindling of interest.
It's a very good pun.
in that. So whether it's barbecue, fire pits, smoking, you name it, it's there's been a resurgence of interest. And alongside that has come the resurgence of interest in wood-fired ovens.
Just fantastic.
And not just numbers of people, but so after we'd been involved about 5 years, I say, we really started to see the numbers picking up. But also the amount of equipment, ovens available now has changed enormously. So I had a tiny little oven that I bought in about 2005 or something. It had imported from Italy. It's called a little pizza party. It's now at the place we use up in Scotland, still going.
Is it? Really? That's a good effort.
But, I couldn't really find much. And because I wanted a little lightweight oven that I could take to farmers markets and bounce around easily in and out of a van. Now, if you go online, you are bombarded and put anything in about wood-fired ovens. You are bombarded with people who are, spending lots of money on Google ads, trying to sell every kind of oven going.
We're certainly spoiled for choice now, aren't we?
Yeah. We're spoiled for choice, and also we are blinded by choice, by the confusion of, I don't know what kind of oven. If you've never ever used a wood-fired oven, you've got 10 different people saying this is the ultimate wood-fired oven, it's all you'll ever need. You have no way of knowing what it is that you need.
Okay, so if I lived in the UK with the selection of ovens available to me here, and if I rang you up on the phone and I said, David, there's so much choice out there. I've never cooked in one of these things before, but I'm having one in my backyard. What would you recommend me to get?
Well, I try and steer clear of recommendation too much because I don't know how people are going to cook and how deep their pockets are and how often they're going to use their oven. So I like to sort of go through a conversation with people where I explore all of that a little bit. I say, what are you going to do? And then say, well, here are some options that might fit with how you're likely to use that oven. And I've got some ovens which we use here, which are, I think, really good examples of their sort of oven, which I have no hesitation. And, if you want an oven like that, I've got no hesitation recommending these kind of ovens. And we'll talk about some of those ovens later, I'm sure. But I don't like to say to anybody, oh, you should get a such and such.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of choice, isn't there? And choice on all levels of budget as well.
And, I mean, there's ovens now that didn't even exist when we started. So the whole market in compact ovens, and we see lots of unis and rock boxes and Delavita ovens, and now people who are jumping in on that, copying those designs of oven, tiny little ovens that you can sit on a tabletop. There's no installation cost. They run on gas or pellets or wood or charcoal, and you set them up and away you go. Fantastic.
And if you're into pizza, they punch out some of the most amazing looking pizzas, don't they?
Great.
Just fantastic.
Great. And it didn't even exist. Yeah, totally new corner of the market. And the innovation that's been going on in the marketplace has been fantastic to watch. Really people trying to find a different niche or a different angle to come at it from and differentiate what is basically, a 9,000-year oven which has been working perfectly well. They're going to redesign that and come up with something new.
That's right.
And some of that is you sort of scratch your head and go, I don't know why you did that because the first one worked great.
Yeah, that's right.
And some of the other innovations were like, oh, that is definitely a different way of coming at it completely. So the little compact ovens are an example of that. You can stick in your van or your camper van and off you go. And
do you run any gas ovens here?
I've got one gas oven.
And you use that for
one little
for your school? Yeah.
For the school, yeah. And we try and have a range of ovens here at the school just so that we can teach people different things. If people want to come on a private class, I can say, right, well, I've got the oven that you're using or something very similar to it. I don't tend to cook with gas much myself. I'm a wood man.
Yeah, wood man.
I'm a wood man through and through. Yeah.
What sort of wood do you use?
We have a range. So I've got some ash and some beech. And generally speaking, wood is it's a source of heat, and I'm not terribly bothered about what kind of wood it is, as long as it's dry. Most importantly, it's got to be dry. And you've alluded earlier to our climate here, which is not always very dry.
No, it's not, is it? It's very green outside your window, so it can't be.
So it's not always easy to create to dry wood. So I tend to get nice kiln-dried wood, and then I keep some for flavour. So I keep some oak and some. I've got some African acacia.
Oh, fancy wood.
Yeah, fancy wood.
Okay.
Yeah. And some hickory and some cherry and different things where I want to deliberately add some flavour.
Okay. Do you do any smoking? Do you have smokers here as well?
We smoke in the wood-fired ovens.
Okay, well, we have to talk about that because that's not without its challenges. Yeah.
No.
Okay, great.
No, and I do have a smoker as well. So I have a rocket smoker with the fuel at the bottom and the racks at the top. If I ever want to do some cold smoking, if I want to do a quick bit of hot smoking, or I want to cook roasted chicken and add some smoke, hot smoked chicken, I'll just do that in the wood-fired oven.
Yeah, right.
That's
okay.
fine.
Oh, good. Okay, David, let's have a chat about your cooking school, present day. But before we do that, let's let's have a little listen to a couple of these customer reviews.
Okay.
This one's from Alex. A wonderful wood-fired oven cooking course in beautiful surroundings. Alex says, if you own a wood-fired oven or are thinking about buying one, this course is a must. We spent 2 days cooking with David and Holly. We cooked so many different dishes, the best pizza imaginable, but also a wide range of other foods. A curry, smoked salmon, focaccia, custard tarts, sausage rolls, to name a few. Goodness, you cook a lot of food on your 2 day.
Absolutely.
We also learned, Alex says, so much about how to use our oven more effectively and just had a lot of fun, both cooking and eating a huge amount. David and Holly are excellent teachers and hosts. Mark & Co., not me, another Mark, says this should be made obligatory. As others have said, if you own a wood-fired oven of any type, this course is a must. I learned at least 5 things I could improve on within the first 2 hours, and it didn't stop there. Mark says, it must be lovely to hear these wonderful comments from students who have taken the time to come and visit you.
It really is lovely, and it reflects exactly what we try and do at the cooking school, which is to educate. So to give people an understanding of how wood-fired ovens should work, can work, because they're not intuitive, but also to inspire them by cooking lots of different things. So we want
Sounds
people,
like it.
Yeah,
goodness.
We want people to really go away understanding that they're not a pizza oven, they're not a bread oven.
Fantastic.
They are not a one-dimensional thing at all. They are really, truly versatile, and you can cook anything in them once you get confident and comfortable and understand how to control and manage the heat. And
that's one of the challenges, I think, isn't it? Is it's very easy to get your oven very hot, and I think most of us would probably go through a phase when we have our oven finished and we are so excited. We've done the curing fires and we're so excited to cook, and we throw so much wood in it and it gets so hot. And the first few dishes that come out are pretty average. I mean, my kids are pretty honest with my cooking, and they'll tell me. But is that something that you see in your students, that some of those common struggles or challenges that they have would be around controlling heat?
Totally. And you're absolutely right. Everybody starts off, not everybody, I'm sure, but people tend to start off with, it must be easy to use one of these wood-fired ovens. I just make a whacking great fire inside it, and I put some food in, and hopefully it'll come out all right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does come out all right, but quite often we've had every tale of, chicken black on the outside and raw on the inside.
That's right. I mean, pizza loves extremely hot ovens. For 90 seconds, bam, it's done. But it's probably, I don't know, what other foods would want to be cooked at those sort of temperatures? Probably not much.
No, exactly. Exactly. And we want people to understand that there is subtlety and control involved in wood-fired cooking, which then allows you to cook things without that element of hope. So you're not sticking it in there and crossing your fingers. You're sticking it in there, and you are pretty much certain that it's going to come out exactly as you planned.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting the show at woodfiredoven.cooking/support. There are links in the show notes. This support helps to bring more great Wood-Fired Oven podcast episodes out to you. Remember, a few small coins makes a big difference to the show. Sign up online at woodfiredoven.cooking and receive our free Wood-Fired Oven resources pack. Follow me on Instagram at marks_woodfiredoven for recipes, tips and techniques to supercharge your fire cooking skills. Join our Wood-Fired Oven Chronicles Facebook group and meet some amazing fire cooking enthusiasts. Thanks for listening to this episode. Catch you next time. Stay safe, have fun, and go cook with fire.